I'm Jeff Farris, President and CEO of CloudRadial. I want to welcome you today to our webinar on introducing drag and drop automations. This is the latest feature for CloudRadial, capping a long list of achievements. This is another, I think, first in connecting clients to actions to try to avoid tickets altogether. So with me today is Ricky Cecchini. He's the VP of Product at CloudRadial. Many of you may know Ricky already from our Academy and numerous other videos that he's done with us. But he is also one of the people most informative in the company. So he is usually a pretty good guy to listen to. So we've got a lot of existing clients on this webinar today. We've got a lot of prospects. And for those of you that haven't seen CloudRadial before, we are the only unified client portal and client services automation platform for MSPs that extends your PSA and tech stack to drive service desk efficiency, account management, and success. But basically, we're going to tie together all of your client touch points in a single pane of glass. As overused as that word is, it is absolutely true with CloudRadial. We're going to bring together reporting, ticketing, QBRs, self-service portal. Again, the goal with CloudRadial is to really drive your engagement efficiency, to drive your basically to scale your client interactions, to make that part of your business as scalable as your technology stack. And just like you use a variety of tech stack to make your systems and your people more productive, CloudRadial is the tool that makes your clients more productive, makes your tech team more productive, makes your account managers more productive by putting you and your clients on the same page. And today we are talking about automation. And automation is the way that basically you tie what a client wants directly to what they need. And so if you think about automation, every MSP out there has been an automation user for a long time, starting with just automating the accumulation and reporting of tickets. It can be as simple as that, tying together additional workflows into that ticketing process, doing round robin of ticketing assignments, anything that replaces manual effort with software is what we would consider an automation. And CloudRadial has been doing automation for quite a while, and we found it to be highly effective. Recent study by IBM across a wide size of businesses, not just large accounts, but medium and small accounts too, found that 79% of executives were expecting to outperform their competition by the use of automation. They found that the automation drove that customer experience, made that customer more engaged with their business, made service and solutions for that customer faster and quicker, more reliable. And also through the process of automation, as automations were used to drive the drudgery of the work away, those executives found that doing more automation actually increased, if you will, employee satisfaction, because they were doing more useful, more meaningful work, not just the day-to-day drudge of work. So CloudRadial has been trying to tie user activities with automations for a period of time. If you've seen our service catalog, it's a huge part of the usage of CloudRadial. What we've seen just by even what we've had already with simple webhook automations is basically partners already using things like Power Automate to tie together functions from a CloudRadial user action directly to a Power Automate script, tying webhooks into Azure Logic apps. We've got clients that are driving Roost automations from those webhooks. And again, we've also provided numerous ways to use PSA custom fields to basically facilitate workflows in ConnectWise and Autotask and other PSAs, and also using the token API, which is a pretty interesting use case where clients can change the drop-down values based on particular clients and keep those up to date using custom tokens. A little advanced in CloudRadial, sometimes a little challenging, but very powerful. And so what we did and what we gained insight from over these last few years is the creativity that partners can do to basically reduce effort or eliminate effort between clients and the tech staff. And so what we've spent probably 18 months on, a lot longer than we should have, because as we would do it, we'd throw it away, rebuild it, throw it away, rebuild it, until we found something that we thought was unique and a platform that we could build on in the future. And what we came up with was automations. And so I'm going to turn it over to Ricky now, and he's going to walk you through the automations demo and how CloudRadial can basically connect your clients directly to your tech stack and oftentimes eliminate techs altogether. So take it away, Ricky.
Yeah. Hey, thanks everybody, and Jeff. And let me share my screen so you got something to look at. Yeah, like he was saying, I know that there's a fair bit of you that have not used CloudRadial, so I'm going to keep the spiel to a minimum as far as how we do it and what we do. But I do want to quickly point out that it's got a lot of different integration capabilities. So in this one use case, we're talking about our CloudRadial tenant. I will be connected to ConnectWise as our PSA, and I'm also going to be connected to the Datto RMM. And we're going to be talking about how that interplays. But separate and free from both of those things, again, CloudRadial is a really powerful tool. You can kind of do whatever you want with it. But in this specific application, when we're talking about automations, we're talking about how can we get that self-service aspect going with the clients? How can you kind of alleviate these boring tasks that take a bunch of your time? And what he was talking about before is we're going to focus mainly around this service catalog, right? So when we present the tickets to clients, we're trying to give them a nice interface and something that, again, you can get all the answers you need. You can kind of organize it the way you want to and get that information coming in clean. And like Jeff was saying, people have already done that pretty well before. So for example, if I want to do like order a printer or whatever, like, yes, you can pull up a form and that's fine. And you can have it ask questions that you want. Again, those that use CloudRadial know this perfectly well. And you can have it go wherever you want, right? Because since we're connected directly with an API connection to pretty much all the major PSAs, you can define what happens there. So yes, you've got your form builder. Yes, you've got your routing. Technicalities abound, right? You can kind of go wherever you want with it. But what he's talking about and what we've really thought really hard of was how do we get more easy automation that, again, takes care of about 80% of what most of you guys need with very little effort, like very intuitive stuff. And again, that's where automations was born. So let's dive into that new feature. That's going to exist under the partner tab, right? Your control panel, there's going to be a new spot here for those automations. And I want to take a second to kind of walk you through it because, again, you can really do a lot of stuff with it. It's super powerful, and hopefully it makes a lot of sense based off of our existing architecture. And again, existing partners should recognize a lot of the same methodologies. So I'm going to work backwards here, starting with logs. This may change a little bit. What you're seeing right now on this webinar is our current beta, right? Prototype. No doubt once it actually gets in the hands of everybody, once we get more feature requests and we tinker with it, it'll change. But for right now, it's showing a list of simply which automations I've ran and, you know, who ran them, which me, a lot of them. Let's go to workflows though. So workflows is where it starts to get really interesting. Now, again, if you're an existing partner, you've built forms, you've used like question templates, you're familiar with the concept of whenever in any system ever, you're building forms, or in this case, automations, chances are that when you build something, you're going to end up reusing elements over and over again. So in a form, it's really easy to imagine is like, hey, you have a couple questions you may ask, you know, what's your name, what's your number, what's your problem? And then maybe there's specific questions like what model printer or which group do you want to be added to? But there's that commonality between all of them. And that's something that we want to templatize and make it really easy for you to drop in. That's essentially what workflows is. Now, a workflow is made up of multiple what we call activities. And these are fundamentally the building blocks of automations. These are the atoms that make up really our universe. And we have 4 of them currently. We're going to expand. We can talk about that, and we will closer towards the end of the webinar, but they're really pretty powerful as is. And the idea here is that whenever you build these different workflows, you can kind of understand what happens with each one. So creating an opportunity, that's something people have requested for a long time. It's super strong because a lot of times what happens is when somebody does request a printer or a phone or a service, right, an audit or a security, you know, upgrade, whatever it may be, the way that it was prior to this webinar was that we could send the ticket and then somebody had to go neat so-and-so requested it. Let me go make the opportunity. Let me go make the quote. Let me do whatever. This eliminates that. So I can actually call it whatever I want. It's pulling directly from the PSA. Again, in this case, ConnectWise. I can assign it to the right rep from here, and I can kind of choose that. And you're going to get to see this in action in a moment, right? This is where I'm building the building blocks. It'll make a lot more sense when I show you the full flow. So that's pretty awesome. This one's something that a lot of people have requested for a long time. And we have this Datto RMM quick jobs. Now, why these are super cool is because ultimately what we're doing is not giving access of your RMM and all the, the intellectual property and the configuration that you have to your client, because that's too much. We're not giving them nothing, right? Because that's no automation at all. We're basically allowing you to define what you want to do with them. So a pretty good example is if I wanted to say, I want to give somebody access to download like a program like Notepad++. I can choose which computer, which device to download it on, if I want to make that static, or maybe I don't want to make that static. Maybe I want to give my end users the ability to choose who gets that software. So instead of just saying who gets it, I have a couple different options. Like Jeff was saying, if you're familiar with the tokenized system, that's really interesting because you can have it dynamically choose which person is supposed to get that. So that could be the person submitting the ticket only. A really cool use case that I've been playing around with is what if you have like an administrator or maybe one of your own technicians in the portal, a user input lets them literally choose for you. So it's like, maybe I want to say like, who gets this software? And then what'll happen, and you'll see the example in a moment, is the person using that form is going to get a drop down of the available computers and they get to choose, right? So it's like gating that down to their company or the couple people is really interesting use cases because again, now what you've done is you've not given an admin or whomever access to everything. You've given them a gated access to your RMM so they can take care of those simple things. Those that use RMMs, which probably as most of you guys know that it's not just about downloading a piece of software. You can get them to run scripts, right? Maybe it's reset the printer spooler. Maybe it's disk cleanup. Maybe it's a bundle of stuff that's like, this is the 7 things any technician would do. Giving them the power to trigger these things, right? Clear your cache, uninstall all the agents, whatever, means that you take care of those really boring grunt work tickets that really should be a button click anyways. So the RMM stuff is really interesting. Again, we're going to talk a little bit about this towards the end of why Datto RMM, but the short story is they're easy to work with. Their team was super kind to us and helped us out a bunch. And in the meantime, like we have plans to expand to everything. So again, remember the goal of CloudRadial is not to be exclusive to any one thing. We're open, right? We want to work with every RMM, every PSA, every piece of software. There's really no such thing as a competitor for us, which is great, which means that we want to help expand out. And automations is really important for that because if we can't speak to all these different systems, we can't really automate, but that's the goal here. So this is cool. And again, working example in a moment. This is another request that has come up over and over and over again. One of our activities is sending an email. Email sending is cool because it allows you to communicate better. And that's really half of the automation is making sure that so-and-so is up to date and so-and-so knows, and we got approval from so-and-so. And that can be a complex workflow. You can already do confirmations and approvals and whatnot in CloudRadial, but this level of customization hasn't been available. So now we can say, where is it from? Similar idea. By token, you want to tell me who it's coming from? You can, right? You can make it come from whoever you want. You can make it go to whoever you want. And then they could have the subject and have a nice email template to go with that. So you can pick from pre-built templates that you can build yourself, or you can freehand write it too. You'll see an example of that in a moment. So again, very powerful. So if you think of these as individual elements, I will show you webhook, but webhook right now is kind of bugged out. So I got a screenshot so you can still see it. Webhook also has been expanded. Webhooks previously would just kind of send stuff in very, very limited details. Now what's happening is you can define the URL, the method, the type, you can write your own headers, you can do all kinds of stuff. So you can get very, very, very specific with how it goes, where it goes, and when whatnot, which means that this is our engine to speak to wherever you want, detailed, right? Speak and receive, which means that, again, we're opening it up, making sure that it's kind of a two-way street. So this automation is not intended to necessarily replace every single thing out there. You know, we get a lot of questions for stuff like Roost and Pia and whatnot. And I think, as you'll see pretty quickly, the focus that we're going for here is we want to be the client-facing, the client-triggered automation that, again, should take care of about 60 to 80% of the stuff that you're going for. If you need that extra 20% of juice, all the crazy specific automations that are very powerful. We want to facilitate that. We don't want to be like, sucks, that's all you get, or no, we don't speak with them. A lot of these activities are going to help you get out there and push that stuff wherever you need it to go. So these 4 activities are kind of the building blocks. And again, what you're seeing in the background here are examples of workflows. So again, back to the initial discussion of templatizing them, maybe there's the same couple flows you need all the time. So whatever piece of software it is, you always need to send the same email. Thanks for downloading this. Or if you have something for a laptop, maybe you need the same opportunity and then an email for those too, right? So by putting these building blocks together ahead of time, you'll save time ultimately when you set forth the automations, which you'll see in a moment. So really it's just a building block game. There's a product tab here. What's products about? Well, we're pulling the products from your PSA. This is true of all connected PSAs. What's happening is when I go to import in products, this is a live pull from, again, my product list in the PSA, and then I am actually dropping those in here. I could pull every single one of them if I wanted to, but I'm localizing them in here for really it's just faster access. So that way I can reference them a little bit quicker, syncing them every day to make sure that they're up to date. So if you change your pricing or whatever, it's up there, but that's really all this is. So this is basically the available products that CloudRadial has locally. So nothing too crazy yet, but this is the star of the show, the actual automation. So we talked about workflows and the activities, which are their building blocks. We talked about products and the logs, which just show the stuff. So when you put together an automation, what's happening? This is where you're dropping the building blocks, defining the order, and just saying, cool, this is the flow. And you can see I got a couple here, everything from really simple stuff to maybe a little bit more advanced, right? Let's take my Notepad++ download. So if I hit that up, what did I do here? When you create an automation, you got 3 things to look at. Simply the name. This is for you. This is not the client's not seeing the name of your automations or the description. You can categorize it just to keep it a little bit cleaner. And you can see that when we look at the end user view of this, which is what we're going to do in a moment, you can choose whether to show them the products they're going to get or not, and show them the price of those products or not, right? Sometimes it's relevant, sometimes it's not. So that all looks pretty good. Again, we're doing the theoretical example of downloading one program pretty simply. There's not a product assigned to this. It doesn't have to be, right? Because not everything is an order and opportunity. Sometimes you simply want to say, run this script or download this one thing. It doesn't have to be crazy complex. And in fact, that's what I'm doing. I got a 2-stage building block. I'm running a Datto quick job that you can see. What am I doing? Download Notepad. I guess I should say plus, but whatever. I'm asking which PC, and what that's going to do is it's going to ask the end user. So if you don't know the answer to that, it's going to pass that on to them in the form. Again, example soon. And I've picked the component to download as the Notepad++ app. Cool. Then I've got an email going out too. And my email that's going out is basically saying, hey, it's coming from support@foxtech.com. That's my theoretical MSP. I'm asking the end user who's going to get the confirmation email saying it's downloaded. I picked the subject. I picked a simple email. Easy enough. So while I'm in here, right, you can see that all I've done is I've assembled my automation, drag and drop, right? I've literally just done this and moved on with it and changed the order, however I want to do it. And if I wanted to import those workflows I did before, my templates, whether they're simple or hard, I could just go in there and drop those in there. So that's kind of the idea of those building blocks. But you don't have to, right? Like you just saw, I can build it freehand every time. I can bundle it up. Your choice. Either way works just fine. So there is a lot of stuff you can do. Again, what's tricky about webinars like this is getting up there and talking about all the use cases, which are about 1 billion, right? Because again, what can you do with a webhook? Literally anything. But for the sake of showing you, right, the difference or what we're trying to do that's different than everybody else is we're trying to differentiate ourselves as being the client self-service, right? Self-service is cool, but it's way cooler when the person at the office can do it themselves, where they can download their own software, where they can speed up their own machine, when they can remove their own agents, whatever it may be. That's really cool self-service, because that's not getting a really neat ticket. That's skipping the ticket altogether, which is way better, right? So how do I trigger this? Well, if I'm an MSP, I'm a technician, I'm hanging out back here in automations. Let's say I've built some, I've got triggers now. If I click it, I can run it myself. I don't have to put this in front of clients if I don't want to. If I run the automation, it's literally going to say which company. These are the companies I have loaded up in CloudRadial. So in this case, I'll run it for myself. And it's asking me, who? Maybe mine. Great. Who's going to get the confirmation email? Maybe I will. And that's cool. But what I really want to show you is how that works from the end user perspective. So trust me, this works just fine, but I want to show you it live, which is always risky, but I want to prove it. from the end user's perspective. So we've seen how automations can kind of be put together however you want. And I showed you at the beginning of my discussion that we have the service request. We have these little tiles. So again, you don't have to use automations, right? Sometimes a ticket is a ticket and that's it. It doesn't need to be some insane workflow. But if you want to add a little bit more juice, like what I did, is I built it out. Now, the guts of this ticket, again, are relatively simple. All I've done is I gave it a category and I called it download notepad, which is shown up here, gave it a description, you name it. What's special, and again, existing CloudRadial partners will recognize this, is that I got a new question type called automation. So instead of asking a multi-choice or whatever your traditional form builder, I'm invoking that automation from that list that we just saw. So I can literally say, hey, drop that notepad automation in here. I can drop multiple automations in a ticket if I wanted to. But the same way that when I tried to run it in the partner only area, in the kind of the client admin console, when I run it in here as a user, it's going to ask me those same questions because I told it to, because I said, I don't know which PC, ask them. And that's what it's doing. It's saying, hey, which PC? And I'm going to go, myself. Who's going to get it? Ricky at cloudradial.com is going to get it. Okay, cool. So what's going to happen now is I hit submit, and now CloudRadial is going to run your automation for you. There's a lot of clever stuff happening back and forth, right? So I've got my confirmation message just popped up in CloudRadial. I got my ticket if I want to, right? In this case, I do. My ticket just sent over to the PSA. We can see that within CloudRadial as well. So again, as your end user, right? You're not the MSP in my example now. Now I'm just a dude. I say, hey, I wanted Notepad to be downloaded. I did it. And it goes, cool. Automatically download Notepad on the specified user's PC. How does it know who? Well, I'm logged in. I'm assigned to a company. I have all these things already stored. So it knows exactly that Ricky from Fox Tech Company wanted Notepad on his PC. Okay. Let's swing over to Datto RMM real quick. So what I've just done is I just started a job just now, right? So this is now going to take however long it takes Datto. I've triggered that job to define my PC. There it goes. It's going to come up in a little bit. In the meantime, my email just popped up. What happened? Hey, look, I just got my Notepad thing popping up. You got to look at my real email, so please don't look. Right? Cool. So I got that downloaded too from support@foxtech.com. So in one smooth flow, I've got all that stuff working. Now, again, this might take a little bit to get going, but the point is it's going out there, right? It's taking care of that. There's a lot more interesting things you can do than downloading a single piece of software. And that's the whole point of this thing, right? That's the beginning. That's literally the very start of it. Here's a good example of one that Jeff and I cooked up prior to presenting this webinar. What about for selling more services, right? It's interesting when you can do self-service downloads. It's really interesting when they can buy their own services and have it take care of that for you. How about somebody who's requesting a security audit, right? Okay, I want to order an audit for my own business. I want to get an action plan going. What does that mean? So this is an example of a ticket that's quite different, right? Now I'm saying, hey, I want to do an audit service. Who's going to get the project kickoff email? Hey, guess what? Me again. And then maybe I have a terms and conditions, right? So if I have a terms and conditions, pop that open, ta-da, here's my terms. Maybe I want to attach a file, right? This is all related to the ticket form builder. So it's a combination of how you want to build your forms and then what automations you want to tie to it. Now you can see in this case, I have my security audit service, $2,000, that's all going. And I have a signature, and once I do that, it's going to fire off. Let's take a second to examine that, right? Like I said, I did some form building, right? I did a little bit of that HTML, building the form, making it look pretty, but I'm running an automation in there, my security audit. If we take a look at what that looks like, let's pop open a new tab so I don't have to do it all over again. It means that I went to my automations, and prior to this webinar, I built a security audit one. What did I do? This time I did do an opportunity, right? I chose to show the product, I chose to show the price, and I tied that security audit software service, I'm sorry, not software, just regular service into my product list. And I hit a really simple one again, right? Create opportunity, send email. Now, I could go way crazier, but for the sake of not having to watch me build Legos on screen, I did this. So that's what it's doing, right? So back over here, all I'm doing is I'm saying, hey, let me go ahead and do that. So let's run that too, see how that works. Ricky at cloudradial.com, get my signature. And this is pretty much what you need, right? It tells them what they're getting. It gives them a terms and conditions. It kicks it off. Again, if you're not familiar with CloudRadial, there may be some alarm bells going off because I've had people ask fairly, Who's going to see this? Is this going to everybody? No, right? You can choose the level of client, that gets this. So some of these tiles that you're seeing back here may be only visible to administrators, not just every user. Maybe it's even more specific. We came up with a lot of use cases based off of what our customers asked, right? And a lot of times what happens is you've got a co-managed situation where maybe you got an internal IT guy that needs to get some stuff done, and maybe they need to get some orders going in. So you can specify who sees these, so it's not just open season on these commands, open season on these orders. So same thing here. This went ahead and created a ticket. Let's go into ConnectWise now, see my opportunities. Let's see what popped up. If anything popped up at all, if it should. I'm not very good at ConnectWise, so we'll have to double check on my usage. Maybe, maybe not. Whoa. Opportunities for all members. You can see all my cool tests. Yeah, it did it. Security audit under Evan Griffith, who's on this call. Thanks, Evan. So this thing just popped up. We're still working through some stuff here, but for the most part, hey, there you go, right? It went away, it logged it, it created the opportunity, and I got a sweet email, show my block content, telling me about my new process and what's going to happen. So again, I've got a complete flow. I've got the opportunity created. I've got the users alerted. I can tack on more stuff to that, right? I could send webhooks to create the start of the flow with whatever service. I'm giving you a simple way, pretty easy way to get all these things triggered that doesn't take a lot. I mean, it just takes a logo, some text, and a couple of drags and drops. Not too bad. Again, interesting, but there's so much more. So again, another example that we saw is we're seeing this from the self-service angle of downloading your own software. We're seeing this from the angle of opportunities and sales, but we also know that there's a ton of benefit, like a ton of benefit from the angle of the service desk, because the service desk people deal with, for lack of a better term, dumb crap all day, because all they do is try to solve people's requests. And a lot of times people's requests are something's going slow or this doesn't work. And again, the tech's going to save time running the same or not running the same command over and over again when I can run a disk cleaner. And guess what's going on over here? I'm literally just invoking a command from the RMM saying, run the disk clean app. Maybe I want to bundle stuff, reset my DNS, cache, run the disk cleaner, whatever, and execute that, right? So by doing that, I'm skipping a bunch of time. So you get the idea. I don't need to go through all the examples necessarily, but that's it. A really good example, because we've asked people, we took a survey, right? If you've took part of the sneak peek webinar, we did one prior where I didn't quite go this in depth of stuff. We asked people, what's the most tedious thing you deal with? What's something you want to get kind of off your plate if you could? Where do you want to start? And nearly the number one, I mean, it was everyone's had it as one of their requests. It wasn't the only thing. It was onboarding and offboarding. Those processes can be really complex, and typically they're very tedious, but they're very repetitive. So it's like anytime you see tedious, repetitive, and not very complex, you've got a chance to automate, and that's what we're doing too. So again, a lot of the automation capabilities is, can we standardize the information coming in? And you certainly can, but even something like this, which device should be offboarded? What's going on over here? What am I doing to Pablo's virtual Windows 10 machine? Well, in this case, what I did was I created an automation for removing all the agents on their machine. So I'm having the end user run that command for me, right? So I've defined in my RMM over there that I want them to take care of a bunch of stuff. Again, clean off the RMM agent, clean off the CloudRadial agent, clean off all the different agents. And I bundled that into one component. So I have all this kind of rocked in here because, again, most, if not all RMMs are going to allow you to run your own scripts and whatnot, which means, again, sky's the limit with how you apply this. But that, again, drives that self-service automation, right? You set up what you want them to trigger, right? You're setting up these cool automations, but the best part is you're not click and go. They are. And that's what this is all about. So no matter how you cut this, right? Whether it's a simple cleaning, whether it's downloading a piece of software, whether it's downloading a bundle, whether it's getting as far as saying, like, I want to order a laptop, create the opportunity, contact the shipper, get all that stuff going, you can kind of build it yourself. And part of our goal ongoing is to make every one of those complex processes easier and easier, make those drag and droppable. And again, where we can't, happy to work with services that will let you go the extra steps or help you get that little extra juice that we may not be doing, which I think unless Jeff, you have something else to add, I might turn it back over to you for a little bit more of the next steps plan. You're muted, but I like the look.
There we go. A lot of discussion in the chat about different RMMs. And as before we get off of this is phase one. And again, this is the stuff we had access to. The RMMs are a different lot when you get to the API stuff. So the catch-all, just like anything else, is the webhook. So anything you can do with the webhook, if you can get to the RMM API and it does something useful, then you can do that with the webhook we have today. So what you see here is a lot of power, surprisingly a lot of power in the first pass, but it's just a first pass. And so let's go, let me take the screen back here. There we go. So let's get back in to talk about kind of what you can do with the automations today, just to summarize what Ricky was going through. Number one is just making it anything that the client can do through a Datto quick job is there today. So again, that gives us access back to individual workstations. We're actually pulling stuff from the Datto RMM, so that's how we know what workstations are there. Obviously, this is going to spawn a ton of feature requests out of this as to which workstations are allowed. There are ways to set it for just a single workstation or just the user's workstations or all workstations, or again, you're going to find that this is going to be an evolving feature and it will change rapidly. But again, it's a good start. Again, the scripting capability, again, anything that you can do with the Datto RMM quick job. And we've seen stuff, put together stuff for scripts for cleaning up. So if people are going to have a ticket, open a ticket for hey, my machine is running weird, have them just go ahead and run that script and diagnostics to get the initial stuff out of the way. So when the ticket comes in, very shortly thereafter, the Datto quick job's already done the hard work of making sure everything's tidy and in place. So when you get there, you're dealing with hopefully a already resolved issue, or you're dealing with something that is easier to diagnose. The opportunities is big. Again, being able to feed opportunities into these different pieces at the right times we've had this request for a long time. This gives us a nice way, because again, to do opportunities, we need products, and the products integrated with the automations gives us some great ways to do that. Again, the custom emails, there's a lot you can do with these. Again, these are full HTML emails, so if you want to customize them to your own look and feel, you can do that. And then again, the webhook stuff, again, we've already seen a lot of things going on with existing Power Automate and those kinds of tools, things tying into Roost. We just want you to give more capability for that. And that's what this is what will ship in version 1. Up next, we know we're just starting on the automations piece, and we're committed to, again, the self-service capability. So you're going to see more tie-ins, more examples. The Roost, we're going to bring in Roost forms into the portal, because again, automations is a sliding scale of productivity, right? Again, you can, with CloudRadial, we're going to try to do the simple drag and drop things, the things that are basically fill in the blanks and move on. But when you get into these complex capabilities, Roost, PIA, Azure Functions, Power Automate, all give you unlimited capability to do the things that you want to do. And so we want to be able to let you scale automations, not only with just our own automations, but with basically almost any automation engine that's out there, any RPA that's out there that will help you become more productive. And again, push that load back onto your clients. Again, the more that you can get your clients to do for you, the less you have to do yourselves. There's obviously a lot of things we can do with Microsoft and tying in tenant management. There's a lot of things that come in into this process of managing groups, managing distribution lists, managing licenses, maybe potential ordering licenses. So again, what we can do is try to do this in a nice drag and drop efficient way to take over basically the low-hanging fruit, the easy things that you should be able to do without having to go to full boat scripting language. But again, we're going to facilitate that as much as possible. And we're always looking for ways to do that. Just had a really productive talk the other day with Darren with EmiBot. There's lots of fun things we can do with him. So again, there's a lot of things out there that are driving productivity among MSPs, and we just want to be that gateway between the client and those productivity pieces. Pricing availability. So this is one of the things that will be probably most of interest to existing clients. Limited beta and preview is this week. We're starting to roll it out to a few select clients just to make sure it works with their data ORMM, make sure it works as expected. It should be generally available by the end of this month. Initially, it will support ConnectWise and AutoTask well. The other PSAs should be there shortly. They're there partially now, but not well enough that we want to claim credit for them. Users on our starter and professional plans will be limited to 5 automations. And that should be enough to take care of either the basics or at least to let you see it and work with it. And then unlimited automations are in the enterprise plan. And so for those of you that aren't on enterprise today, as you can see, we're making a push to get you there, in part because that brings about much better backup and security. It brings up multi-language capability. It brings up better roles, so you can have unlimited roles in enterprise. You also will now get unlimited automations, and we also will tag an account manager who will reach out to you on a regular basis to work with you on your account to make sure you're getting the most from CloudRadial. So again, the enterprise plan is worth it just simply for the account management capability by itself. And in addition, you get all of these other features. So if you're already approaching the 1,000 user level, enterprise is just a couple $100 more a month, much cheaper than any other automation engine on the market. And so again, we look forward to getting you onto that plan, because again, what we really want to do is get you there with your account manager so that we can help guide you and work with you as you continue to roll out and deploy CloudRadial. Again, it was interesting at DataCon last week, and even in the discussion, CloudRadial is such a rich product and feature functionality. It's broad and deep, and it is very easy to overlook some very powerful feature or tool that can really drive usage among your clients, drive engagement among your clients, or drive efficiency among your staff. So again, we want you to be able to work with the account managers or account management team to basically identify and work on those things that help drive your business growth. So is there any last questions that we need to cover, Ricky or Evan, in the before we sign off?
I mean, yes, there's about a billion questions overall in general, but I'm answering some in here, which is some good questions. One that I just answered that I think is a good one, which is, can we trigger automations from like webhooks and stuff? And I want to lay out, the plan is, in general, obviously we've had requests for it forever to make CloudRadial more open and APIs, and in general, it's like, open it up, let's see it. But the thing is like, I want to make it not lame, and to make it not lame, you need something that is worthwhile. I think that this is the thing that we really were missing in the product more than anything, which is, I mean, even in the sneak peek webinar, I said it and I will state it again. I don't think this is a feature in the sense that like, this is a cool thing that you're going to use one off of. As an engine is how we designed it. And then an engine is something that we plan on injecting everywhere. So what you're going to see in the future is not just automations inside of the service catalog and for tickets and whatnot. I want to add it to the planner to trigger opportunities. I want to add it to assessments to trigger whatever, right? It's like, you can imagine policies, assessments, planner, opportunity, like wherever it is, this is the thing that I want recurring. And when we open up the product and we're talking about like API stuff, I think the vision here for the future is not just have us be a cool thing where you can inject stuff into columns or whatever, but it's to use us as a pass-through for the client-facing part with that automation functionality. So yes, like, I mean, it's interesting to have us opened up via webhook and being able to put stuff in and out, but it's more interesting to have us be able to process steps along the way. And that's something that I think we're going to look forward to, because like you're saying, with ImiBot, with Roost, whatever, automation is pretty hot right now for MSPs, but we want to make sure it's worthwhile automation and not lame automation. So it takes a little bit more thought, honestly, to do. But the plan is we do want to open it up, and I think we have something worthwhile now.
Yeah, there's a lot of exciting stuff still coming down the path. If you haven't participated yet, there's a survey out there on DNS security, and very interested in that. We've got some really exciting things to show in that area in upcoming weeks. We've got, again, there's just so much on the path right now over the next year, really the next quarter, next year. And again, we're going to try to engage everyone as much as possible in the focus groups and in what we're doing to build out this platform. Again, we've been very blessed with some excellent partners over the years. Every partner we've had has made us better and sharper, and appreciate everyone. So with that, again, if you haven't, if you're on CloudRadial now, look for the announcements in the product for and the documentation related to automations. That should be there shortly. If you're not using CloudRadial, be sure and reach out and schedule a demo so that you can see not only the automations piece potentially, but also all of the CloudRadial can do for your MSP. We thank you for joining us on this lovely day and look forward to working with you in the future. Thanks very much.